What are we doing?
Choose your position.
Oh.
First side, you should cull your game collection.
Oh.
Side B, you should not cull your game collection.
Okay. Side A.
Side A,
Side
you
A.
should cull your game collection. Yep. Defend your position.
I know you're on side B.
Defend your position.
Give me some reasons. You should cull.
Reasons?
You should cull because games are big.
Yeah.
They are full of cardboard,
Okay.
full of plastic.
Yep.
They don't disintegrate into the ground. They are art pieces if you're not playing them. And I have plenty of art pieces on my shelf that I don't actually play and I'm perfectly capable and fond of holding on to. But you do not need every single game on your shelf.
No. I'm not talking about every single game that exists
Why
on
cull
someone's
it
shelf.
all?
Why should are you defending calling or are you defending not calling?
I'm defending culling. You should cull.
No.
Yes.
Once you have a game in your collection,
It should never leave.
You bought it because of a promise. I'm not saying
I have like 6 of your games here.
I'm not saying games shouldn't leave a collection. If a friend likes it more, you give the opportunity for them to experience or play it. Games have a natural growth of life with them. But I'm talking about the rigorous, positioned, strategic culling that so many people do right now, where you get something, you've never played it, and you still decide to sell it or turn it or trade it in for something new. You restrict yourself to a single Calyx shelf of board games.
Sure.
Games entered your collection for a reason, to facilitate relationships, experiences, to be gotten to the table.
Exactly.
And if you cull, if you boil it down to what you personally enjoy the most, you're going to end up not having the games that you need when new people come over.
So you said games are bought to enjoy, facilitate
absolutely.
relationships, and get to the
They're
table.
little microcosms of promises you made yourself, and those should stay in your collection.
No.
Yeah.
If you bought a game to enjoy
Okay.
and get to the table and share with others, and you have not done so, and you look at that
Then
game,
you need to-
and you look at that game, and you say, I don't see you getting to the table.
Okay.
Why hold on to
You
it?
need to reevaluate your life in a way that makes room for that game. I think instead of calling out promises that you made to yourself and removing games that you don't believe will ever get to the table, I think you should strategically and purposefully invest in your own time, in your community and family's time, and you should make sure those games hit the table. They deserve to be there.
I do, to some.
Okay.
But there are many games that
I'm not saying you should buy all the games.
Right.
Maybe you should be more strategic in what you purchase.
And that's totally a good counterpoint.
And less ruthless around what you get rid of.
That's a perfectly fine counterpoint. But if you are someone like me who loves the process of researching, buying, and thinking about games, and then when you get them, you realize, wow, I have a friend who owns this game. I will never play this game with me being the teacher, with me knowing the rules, and with me getting it to the table with my friend group. Get rid of it. Let someone else teach you that game. Let someone else table that game at their own table.
Yeah, then what happens? Then what happens? You buy a second copy of Kingdom Death and a third copy of Twilight Imperium because you played it and you realize
at this
you
point in
actually
time,
adore the game.
You are just like venting from your own experience. No. Not everyone has 4 copies of Kingdom Death Monster. You are obscure. You're different in that regard. There are games that you can get rid of. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not saying some games don't leave your collection. Again, friends show up and walk out with titles that they think they'd enjoy more. I'm specifically talking about the rigorous and thorough calling that's done by members of the community.
So,
where you list out an Excel spreadsheet, calculate how much you've played, and cycle games for profit or for reinvestment in your own collection. I think you should hold on to the games that you have. You should get them to the table. You should play them. You should experience them.
Many of us, especially in this hobby community or even tighter, the content creation community.
I thought you were going to say in Kentucky.
Nope.
Okay.
Are given games or are borrowing games or are buying games at a higher than normal rate to try them out and record a video on it and play it and get it on the channel. Space is a premium. Especially, so here in Kentucky, you're in Maryland now, but here in Kentucky, I am lucky. I have a lot of space in this basement.
Sure.
I could have 6 Calyx shelves if I really wanted to. There are people that live in Seattle, New York, whatever, that have much smaller homes, and their collection has to be manicured. No questions, no ifs, ands, has to be culled. I mean, because they have to maintain a
I really
certain
have to
number
ask
of games.
those people, do they need the amount of dishes they have? Do they call other elements of
Do
their
they
life?
really need a bathroom?
No.
Just fill that bathroom up with board games.
Do they call other elements of their life in a purposeful and dictated way, in the same way that you might do to your board game collection? If so, maybe I'll back off a little bit. But I think more people have waste and excess that exists that gets rid of things that really facilitate human interaction. I think board games should be the last thing you consider culling. And I think there's a lot of other things you should focus on.
I can see your point a little bit there, but board games are also a privilege. They're not a necessity.
Sure.
They are a thing that people with the money and space to get them. Mm-hmm. It's a privilege to be a board gamer.
So are king-size beds.
Absolutely. Do you think people in Seattle and New York have king-size beds in their studios?
I
don't think so.
When I lived in D.C., 400 square foot apartment.
King-size bed?
King-size bed.
All for you.
We did not have much room.
Look, there are games. All right, here's another thing. Totally different topic.
Okay.
Especially as a content creator, but also just as someone who likes to play board games. Boxes and games that I want to play, but know I never will, legitimately stress me out and give me anxiety sometimes.
But until you play them,
this game,
and then that stress and anxiety is reduced.
Just get rid of it, and then that stress and anxiety is gone.
Then you have the guilt for the fact that you never committed to your obligations.
The willpower, or the brain to learn every game on my shelf.
Then why accept and invite in every single game?
Because I accept them under different circumstances.
Purchase.
I accepted Dungeon Pets when I didn't have X amount of games on my shelf. Since acquiring Dungeon Pets, I've acquired plenty of other games and realized at a different point in my life, when I accepted Dungeon Pets, I was pretty confident I was going to get to play that. The more I learned about that game, because I didn't know a lot about it, the more I learned about myself, the more I learned about the collection that I'm keeping, I realized this is not a game that I want to learn, that I want to table. I will happily play someone else's copy, but I don't need it anymore.
I think it takes a ridiculous amount of time, energy, focus, dedication in order to effectively and efficiently call your games in a way that makes any sense.
Repeat what you just said, and also say to learn games that you haven't played yet.
Yeah, but the reward for learning the games that you haven't played yet.
The reward for culling is more board games.
What are you talking about?
Cull 10 board games, buy 10 more.
Well, then you're in a repetitive cycle that is consistently...
Because you're growing as a person, and you're learning what games you don't think you want to play, what games you don't think you're going to table, and instead, you can get rid of the 10 that you've realized after time aren't for you. You can acquire 10 more that you think, at this point in time, are. And you may call some of those later because you've grown some more. Because that's what we do, we grow.
Invite your friends over, let a few of the games leave your collection. I'm not opposed to that, but don't be so purposeful and rigorous.
Would you call what I'm doing right now a purposeful cull?
You're removing about 25 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would call what you're doing right now a purposeful
And why am I wrong for doing that?
Because I think there are going to be titles in there that you end up rebuying. I think there's titles in there that you would enjoy playing with people still. And I think there's going to be titles in there that some friends might leave with, but it doesn't need to be all 20.
I'll correct you. I know there are titles in there that I will buy back.
Sure.
I know there are titles in there that I will enjoy more later. But for now, in my current space, while my children are a certain age, while my personal tastes have grown past that, they may come back. My children will grow up and be more interested in King of Tokyo's. I will buy it back then when the game applies to me as someone that will actually see playing it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I can donate it to a library. I can give it to a friend. I can sell it to someone online for cheaper than they can buy it somewhere else, and they can enjoy that game right now. Instead of it just taking a space on my shelf, not being played for 3 years, I know I'll buy King of Tokyo back. I will. 100% in 3 or 4 years. I don't need to have it sitting on the shelf collecting dust for 3 or 4 years when I can give it to someone, donate it to the local library, or sell it to someone and let them enjoy it tomorrow.
I hear you. And that's all I have. What did you miss on my... What did I miss on my side of the argument? I have a very hard position here. The idea of not advocating for not calling your game collection, I mean, the one thing you didn't even touch on that Alex from BoardGameCo would have hit on 100% is reinvesting that money into a hobby space instead of building a pile of debt that you have, selling to repurchase.
That's super important.
Makes so much sense.
This cull for me was what was on my mind,
yeah.
And I've sold 3 of the games, and I'm literally donating the rest to the public library.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
To me, that investing wasn't on my mind, but that's a very good thing to think about.
Yeah.
If you can sell your games to people that
on
are
the side of not
do
calling, anything you'd say?
I mean, I think that you're not wrong in the sense that you will come back to these games and that games are an investment that you can enjoy. But to me, you grow, you figure out you're not going to like this. I don't need to hold on to adult diapers, even though I may need them in 50 years, Jesse. I don't need to hold on to them right now.
If there was a sale at the local Target, I'm not saying you're wrong for doing so. Hey, if you watched this and we decided to post it, comment down below. Do you cull? Should you cull? Or should you just be more purposeful with what you've purchased and not go through the process of getting rid of 30 games in a pile? And also, have fun figuring out which side of our argument was missing some key points. I think both could be argued for.
Yeah, they can.
People actively...
I mean, one was clearly presented better and is accurate.
People actively do both.
Yes.
I think it makes sense to cull. I never do.
I was about to say, you just culled like your first game on the shelf for sale segment, right? Like not only like a month ago.
Yeah, I don't get rid of things.
Yeah,
much.
you just don't.
I don't like the time or the process.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Given that you don't have the time to cull, that's a totally another statement that you can make. You don't have the time or the brain space to cull.
Yeah.
Whereas other people don't have the time or the brain space to learn every game they have.
So let us know. Did we miss any core parts of this conversation? And do you like the idea of a format where we argue with each other?
Yell at each other?
I mean,
like an old married couple.
Talk about a thing and debate the.
You lost your train of thought there?
We'll see you next time. This has been Tablenauts.
Has it?
I think so.
Okay.